I would like to request everybody to please settle down so that we can start the next part of the session. This is the sales pitch, and it's about Meet the Sales Agent. I'm sorry, can we please request everybody to please step out if you want to have a conversation. Sales agents, for all of us, all of you filmmakers, writers over here today, are very crucial to the journey of a film and your own. They help them negotiate their way through film festivals, markets, buyers, distributors, in fact the entire ecosystem, so as to enable them to monetize and to reach out to potential viewers and consumers. It's going to be really interesting to listen to the sales agents talk about what is it that they are looking for in the market, what is the kind of films that engage them, how does the rest of the world perceive Asian and independent content. And to help us navigate, we have some very interesting sales agents with us, and to help us navigate through this entire session, we have a very interesting moderator, Ruchi Bhumani. So Ruchi Bhumani, please take the session forward.
Hi, okay. I'm just going to call the sales agents on so that we can get together and take this forward. Anne-Sophie, Laurent, Mike, and Jennifer, come on over. So, I thought we could, like Anupama mentioned, it's a crucial sort of element in the journey of our film, particularly when we're taking it international. So if we could just have a show of hands of how many people have not worked with a sales agent before to just help us navigate this. Wow. Okay. So you guys. Okay, so meet the sales agents. I'll just introduce Anne-Sophie from Asian Shadows and Chinese Shadow, right? Which is the production wing of their company. I'll let her take it forward. You can, yeah.
Hello everyone. Yeah. My name is Anne-Sophie Lehec. I am French. I live in China. I've been living there for 7 years, and I work for Chinese Shadows and Asian Shadows. You may have the display soon coming up. We have two companies. Chinese Shadows is a production company that was created about 15 years ago in China by a French woman living there. She was helping Chinese filmmakers when it was not easy to get fundings from China to make money, to get money to make their films. And I joined the company about 4 years ago, and we decided to expand the company by creating our own sales branch, because we saw that some of our films were taken by sales agents in Europe, but maybe they were the exotic touch that was needed in a sales agent slate. But they were not the films that were pushed the most, and we thought we could do it better ourselves. So we created the company first for our films, but then people came to us and said, since you're doing it for your own films, why not taking my films? We have now about 6 new films a year, and we have a catalog of about 30 titles now. Our films range from Korea to Indonesia, from Japan to Afghanistan. We only take Asian films by Asian director. So if you're a Canadian director and you shoot in India, I'm sorry, but we're not the good ones. And we only take very indie films with a strong cinematographic approach. All our films, we can go to the next. Yes, this is the 2017 slate. So as you see, we have Hong Kong film, an Indonesian film just right here, Marlena, the Murderer in 4 Acts, which started in Cannes this year. We also co-produced that one. And from India this year we have 2 films, Ashwatthama by Pushpendra Singh that just started in Busan, and Village Rockstar right here by Rimadas, which was in Toronto. Not every year we have Indian film, not every year we have Chinese films. We only have 6 slots, 6, 7 maximum. So competition is fierce, but we need to have time and strength to work on the films and on their lives in the market. So if we would have more, they could get into competition with one another, and we wouldn't have time to really work fully on each of them. We can go to the last one. Yeah, this is our catalog, so older films. We have established directors as well as very young filmmakers. We do only feature films. We can work with documentary as well. We represent the film by Wang Bing, for instance, which is a master of Chinese documentary. Yes, basically everything Asian, independent, and good.
Yeah, you can see that a lot of the films are in Busan, Toronto, Berlin, Venice. So it's a great slate. Congratulations. I'll ask Laurent to take it forward with Loco.
My name is Laurent Danilo. I'm a French sales agent based in Paris. And well, in French films and films. I'm from India. I made only for a big Bollywood movie. I released the first Bollywood movie in Europe called Lagan by a few years ago. It was Locarno with an Academy Award nomination, and it was a great experience. And since then I met two few.
Laura, please take the mic a little closer.
Sorry. And I say there's a short presentation.
So Loco has done Lagan, Virzara, and Om Shanti Om. That's the Indian slate of Loco. So quite a range of films there. I would Jennifer from Shoreline. Hello?
Oh, there we go. Hello, my name is Jennifer from Shoreline Entertainment. We have offices based out of Los Angeles and Beverly Hills and Las Vegas. Shoreline has been around for about 25 years, which is rather uncommon for a sales agent. It was founded by Morris Ruskin, our CEO. I don't know if there's a video.
You have.
It was founded by Morris Ruskin, our CEO. His big claim to fame is Glengarry Glen Ross. What makes Shoreline different is we're very thorough. We go to a lot of markets, a lot more than most sales agents, I would say. We went to 17 just last year. We just finished up AFM in Santa Monica and have a team going to the Sur in Argentina very shortly. We're very thorough. We pitch to broadcasters, festival programmers, distributors, and within the 25 years that we've been in business, it's allowed us to develop relationships with these programmers, festival people, as well as broadcasters, to just really have that face-to-face personal connection. And as far as what folks we're looking for, we represent all kinds, not just Indian or Asian, but American, Latin American, all over the world. We have a very eclectic film slate, and
and Mike from Radiant.
I am Mike Doherty. I'm from Radiant Films International, also based out of Los Angeles. We're a very young sales agency, only about 6 years old. But our founder, Mimi Steinbauer, has been in the sales business for a good 30 years. And the idea behind Radiant was to provide kind of close personal attention to a select slate of films, a very lean slate of films. And so we only take on about 6 to 8 films per year. And first and foremost, we're looking for films that have potential to play theatrically, both in the US and around the world, at least in several territories. We're open to all sorts of genres, and we have all sorts of genres on our slate, from drama to romantic comedy to thriller. But the key element of that is that Radiant Films is kind of a clue as to the kind of films we want to pick up. It doesn't mean Radiant doesn't mean it has to be a happy ending or completely upbeat, but there should be some kind of positive impact that the film has on the audience, whether in filmmaking prowess or message that is ultimately in the film. We have films from all over, from Italy, from New Zealand, Canada, US mainly, but we're looking to expand. We come close to representing Indian films, but it hasn't quite happened. I blame the producers. But the kind of film we'd be looking for would have some level of prestige, a festival premiere at a major festival, high production value, and open to genre that usually the festival selections.
And is there any potential of your company coming on as a producer for the film?
Yes, as I said, we also are a production company. We also have a company house in France. We are French as well, so we can access French fundings or European fundings, even though we only have very, very limited slots for that, and we are not just a bank. So again, please come to us very, very early on when you have an idea, and not when everything is in place and you're just missing 200K, because then we would not be able to give some inputs, and that's what we like to do, also come in as creative producer and not just financiers.
Yeah. So to access them as a producer, it's ideal to come in quite early in your project, right? I mean, in pre-production development.
Yes.
I think, yeah. And any other companies that is also funding? Shoreline, I think, also produces? Fine.
We do help with just certain management clients that we've worked with in the past. And so if you could keep them right here. Okay. Not so much. We don't necessarily help finish funding. Ideally for us, it's kind of opposite. Is we look for films more when they're in their completed stages. Sometimes in post helps as well, for the same reason of being able to give notes to make certain cuts or edits that we think will help sell the film better. But essentially for us, it's more when it's completed.
Okay, which I'm guessing would be the same for, that's the typical route. There are three, so like I mentioned about production, there's also either it would be an acquisition or a pre-sale. Can we just go around and talk about what would be ideal if you do a pre-sale? Would it be at a rough cut stage? Would it be prior? And how would an acquisition work in terms of the structuring and the share and all of that? And do you want to start?
Doing pre-sales, as a sales agent for our films, being very, very independent, we've never done it, actually. Even if we are also the producers of the film, then it's the producer doing it and doing it as co-production, but we've never done pre-sales with the indie films that we represent.
Okay. And how is an acquisition generally structured, largely in terms of the share? You know, the share with the filmmakers.
When we
acquire
see the film, we like it and we want to acquire it, right?
Yeah.
Well, then we discuss the contract with the filmmakers. Every sales agent, we have different percentages. It usually ranges, the shares for a festival, it's usually about 50-50.
Mm-hmm.
For sales, it's between 10 to 30, 40 for some company. So meaning 90 to 60 to back to the producers for the sales. But again, this can be negotiated in the contract. Each company has different point of views, different ways of handling it.
Do you want to add to that?
I was just going to say in terms of pre-sales, typically as a sales agent, when that comes into play is when you come onto the film in its script phase and its financing is dependent on making a few pre-sales in major territories, and the financier typically wants to know that there's market interest in the films if they're going to put their money into it. In terms of Indian film, those usually sell based on the completed product, so pre-sales don't usually come in at that stage. So when we would acquire a film in its completed stage, yes, it's very similar. There's different percentages of, but Radiant particularly only makes its money when we sell the film. We take a certain percentage of every sale and we front the money to play it at markets and to, bring it to festivals, and we recoup that from sales and make as well up to a certain point.
And you have different percentages for festivals, TV broadcast, for the different platforms. You negotiate different percentages, like she mentioned.
Typically, the way we sell it is we sell all rights to the buyers that we talk to. So we sell theatrical via DTV to the buyer that wants the film. So we just take a percentage of the total sale that we make to those.
And then share that forward with the.
Yes, and
okay.
so let's say we took 10% of any sale we make, the producer gets the rest of that, and then money will come in as those buyers sell off the TV rights to the sub-buyers in their own territory. And, that's, as Anthony said, it varies as to the percentages.
Yeah, so if a producer decides to retain some territories, understandably the home territories of the producing country territories remain with the filmmaker, right? And the rest of the world is what you would ideally like. How would you treat it if a producer wants to retain some of the territories and also retain some of the rights? Like say someone wants to manage the festivals themselves or have another agent manage the festivals. Is that something you would welcome, or have you done it before? Is that a possible model? I mean, what do you think?
It's a little bit harder. Ideally, we want all rights because it's helpful in negotiating that with different distributors and buyers. Essentially, it's the leverage.
Yeah, we usually take the world, but the country of production, it stays with the producer. If the producer wants to add some of the neighboring countries for India, let's say the Indian subcontinent, for instance, we're completely fine with that because they will know these markets sometimes much better than us, so we are completely fine with that. But when bringing another agent, for instance, to handle festivals, then it means that we would only be able to recoup and have a share on the sales, then it would make things much more complicated for us financially, but also for the film, because then people will not know who to contact for what. It's going to be a lot of going back and forth between the agents and the producers. So we don't usually do deals like that, and that's not something that I welcome.
Sure, okay. Delivery of material. When we were chatting, we understood that when a filmmaker makes his film, it's ready to be premiered somewhere, but that's not enough for you as sales agents because there's a whole lot of other things that you require to sell the film forward to the buyers on your, that you're negotiating with. So can we talk a little bit about that, because that can be something that is terrifying actually for an independent producer. Just the idea of delivery of material, because
it's definitely something you should budget for when you're planning to make your movie, because
yes.
there are a lot of materials that sales agents need to. I've been in some form of international sales now for almost 10 years, and I still don't understand exactly what everything is, interpositive and internegative and things like that. In terms of helping sell the movie, I think one of the most important things is to have a good skilled photographer and have a lot of skills to send to us. Films that we have that have major international stars on it decided to kind of spend less on the budget on the stills photographer and hired a cousin to do it. And there's not one single usable photo in this film that has a major international star, and it makes it impossible to make a good poster. It makes it impossible to get the trades to pick up a photo of your film. So that's something I always have in the front of my mind.
Yeah, and at Shoreline, I'm content manager, so I'm very familiar with delivery, and that is something that I find people don't budget for. So whether that's the video items, or there are DCPs that are for festivals, or just a lot of things are moving more digital, I find, as opposed to tapes, so that is helpful. But just as Mike said, having a good stills photographer to help in things that will help ultimately market the film is a lot easier to do and plan for ahead of time than trying to scramble and do that after your film is made.
Yeah, and subtitles is something that you were mentioning. The range of things that need to be delivered may not be something as producers we have broken down and have as separately and as in an organized way as they need it, because sometimes you need things in PAL and NTSC and different formats, and that's just not something we may have required, but that they require to sell the film internationally. So it's a good thing to keep in mind. I'm ready for questions if there's a mic that can go around.
Yeah, just wanted to know, how does your P&A element work in the way you deal with the sales of it and the revenue that you give back to the producers? In the sense that, like, if you're at Toronto, Cannes, Berlin, you would be floating all those one-page ads and screen and so many other things that you'll be doing. So, but you'll have, let's say, 10 films in your slate, 12 films in that festival, 8 films. How does it work overall? Number one. Secondly, between local films, and this is of course for us to know, but between a local films or an Asian Shadows or a Shoreline or an MK2, how do we decide? Because I'm sure you are also pitching in to get great films. So everything that kind of gets promised, what percentage of it gets fulfilled? And I just qualify that with one tiny line, is that I have not known stories, but heard stories where the P&A that you spend, it goes on endlessly for you to recover. And the person, if it's not a very big film, seldom gets their money or gets it very late. So sorry, 2-3 questions plugged together, but I'd be very happy to if you could answer. Thank you.
I'll talk about the last part because I've heard this a lot, especially from Indian filmmakers, that their sales agent never sends them a dime because they claim, we've spent all this money, advertising the film and bringing it to festivals, so we have to recoup that, and everything that they've made from the film, we have to recoup because that doesn't cover our costs yet. Radiant specifically, we typically have in the contract a fixed amount that we can recoup for expenses, and then once that's done, we don't recoup anymore. If we're still spending money on it over that amount, we're done. I don't know how other agencies do it, but I know some of the bigger sales agents I've heard from Indian filmmakers, they say, we never saw a dime, and also they don't even tell us what festivals we're in after the major premiere. That's not something that we do. We, as I said, we're about closely, personally handling the few films that we have, so that's my answer.
Yes, exactly. That's also how we work. In the contract, you have a cap that you can negotiate with your sales agent. So if he tells you 100,000, you're allowed to say, this is too much for my film. You're allowed also to get accounts. You can talk to your sales agent. That's my advice. Talk to each other. This is like a marriage. You would talk to your wife every day. If there is a problem, talk to your sales agent. Don't wait for him to send things. He's busy trying to sell your films everywhere. So if you just want to know something, shoot him an email, talk to him on WhatsApp or on Skype, just talk to each other, and then things would be much better. So there's a cap, and a good way to reduce the cap is to have a good delivery list. If you give your sales agent everything he needs to sell your film, then the expenses would be just on marketing for him to sell the film, not on producing items that the producer should deliver.
Yeah, and the other question was, I think, about when you go to a festival, you might be taking 3 films to that festival. So how do you account for the different, Well,
again, you have market fees in the contract, which is something separate. You can negotiate them also. These market fees don't recoup all the expenses that the sales agent may have on a film. And it's not because the sales agent has different films at the market that they are all at the same stage. Meaning, for instance, we only have 6 films a year, maybe we'll only have 1 in Cannes. Does this mean that I'm not representing yours because it's not selected at the festival? No, we are as well. So it's part of the market fees that, again, you can negotiate.
So you would have a different structure for, say, a film that is premiering in Cannes versus a film that is in the catalogue at Cannes, because
Yes.
both are being represented.
Yes.
So you'd work out that structure.
Yes.
Mike, were you saying something?
Basically the same thing, yeah. I mean, the way we do it is we're at the Cannes market and we have, 12 active films on our slate. The expenses for bringing everything to the market is in the market fee, and that's just a fixed amount, that's a one-time charge in our contracts. If there are certain expenses that are for every film at the market, we divide them evenly up amongst every film that we've brought to the market, whether we have a film in the actual festival or not.
And the third question was about how do you matchmake, essentially, like find the right sales agent. I think that was sort of clear with what each one, like Sophie is definitely not interested in Om Shanti Om, like a Bollywood film.
Sometimes two big sales agents could be interested in the same film, and it's for you to figure out who will deliver how much and how do you do that. Because
I think it's not just about the money. The sales agent is not here just for the money, it's also here to bring attention to your film. If you're a young filmmaker, it makes the work of the sales agent much harder because you have to promote the film and the name of the director. So you have to find a sales agent that is going to be the right one for you, not just in terms of bringing you back money, but also fame. Will the director travel, or will the sales agent keep the screening fees for himself? Because if the director is traveling, the sales agent doesn't get any money. But if maybe you're a young filmmaker, you want to travel, meet your audience, get feedback, get known, so that it's easier to make your second feature film. So just depending on what your film is, what you're expecting. Are you expecting money, prizes? It also depends on that. And also, when you have two proposals by different sales agents that are about the same, in which company would you feel more comfortable? Would you be a big one in a small company, or would you be a small one in a small company?
I think nice points. The only thing that remains, and I think I'll disclose there, that there are good sales agents, and there would be 200 of them, and they have wonderful things on there. When you discuss, and it's for a first timer at least, it's very difficult sometimes to know who would be how good.
Yeah, may I? Sorry, my name is Aubrey, and a lot of my questions, earlier questions were answered with this 5 sets of questions. Thank you, very good friend. Now, 2 specific questions. What I don't understand, and I'm just, sorry for my ignorance, the 2 ladies and the 2 gentlemen on stage, would you all be interested in the entire global market except, say, a producer's area, that's India? For example, the 2 major theatrical markets that I see from India, one is US, Canada, the second is China. So would each of you be equally active in these 2 markets? And then I'll lead to my second question, which is a part of that.
I mean, yes, if you're representing those rights, yes, we're meeting all the buyers from those territories.
Both US, Canada, and China.
Yes.
Yes.
So that's an affirmative from all 4, I believe. Yeah. And now the second question is in terms of the stage of involvement for co-production. I heard Anne say that you'd be interested when the film is in the almost cut stage.
No, for co-production, we like to come when you have a first idea of the script, definitely.
Right, okay. And not all of us are interested in co-production? Okay, fine. Got it. Thank you so much. I'll meet you later.
Anyone?
Yeah, hi. My name is Sandeep. I want to know, do you guys also entertain short films? Like, what is the scope of short films in this?
We aren't in that market.
Yeah, same. We're more interested in features, yeah.
Normally, when we are making our pitches here in India as independent filmmakers, we come up with a short trailer and a kind of a brochure to inform people that this is what we are doing. Is that the right way to connect the sales agent, or there should be more homework done on it?
This is a trailer of the film that's already been shot, or kind of a mood piece that...
In both the stages, sometimes you make a trailer which is you just started post-production, you just shot. So you put together stills, you put together some images and some videos and say, okay, this is what I'm working on, and this is what the synopsis is. And in other cases, you would have made the film, and you say, okay, here I'm ready for screening. So this is what it is now. Now, does a trailer and a brochure suffice for a sales agent to be interested in talking to the producer, or does he need something else as well?
I think what you're saying is, can that be an introduction to your film?
Correct.
Then get you some time to screen the entire film?
Yes,
because I don't
because
think they take a decision till you see a full one.
What happens is, a lot of times when you come to markets, the sales agents are being flooded with a lot of information.
Yeah.
Please come and watch my film, please do this, please do that. Now, if I have to stand out from within the crowd, what is it that lacks? I mean, you would have seen a lot of Indian filmmakers speaking to you. What is it that we lack, or what is it that we actually have which is good?
Really, it's even just like a simple email, and if you have a link to the completed film, that's always better, just because then we can have a chance to watch it and figure out if it's a good fit for us. Sometimes a trailer could be cut in a way that maybe won't interest us, and that's of no fault of anything other than just the cut. So really just a simple email, and just kind of keeping it simple in that way is really helpful.
Yeah, and in terms of timing, I arrived in Film Bazaar yesterday. I had 100 emails in my mailbox with people asking me meetings and to watch their films. I would love to, but obviously I can't. We just don't have the time. So I think the good timing is either 2 weeks before you know you will come to an event, try to see who is coming and already try to talk to them by email 2 weeks before, because then they will have time to watch the film and maybe talk to you during the event or just after. But during, usually it's just like overflowing.
So basically you're suggesting more Vimeo links of the entire film rather than seeing a trailer. A trailer doesn't really help you.
No, trailer can help too.
Okay.
Trailer can help too, but definitely we would need to see the entire film anyway to make a decision.
Okay.
Yeah, but as Jennifer said, it could be a bad move because the trailer might be cut in a way where it doesn't seem as interesting as the actual film is, so the film is better, but also the trailer could be good, and it would make that go to the top of my pile. So, but emailing a link to the trailer is probably the best course of action, rather than coming up with an iPad and watching it in a hallway, because that's not the ideal environment for it.
Yeah. Are there any more questions?
Just, hi, I'm Sanjay Surya, I'm the producer. Just if you could just give where the role of the sales agent in the coming years is heading, because with major recoupment happening, besides theatrical, which is a diminishing window, global giants, digital giants, and they pretty much need world rights, for whether in the Netflixes or the Amazons. Those could be serviced from your, locally as well. So just where is it heading? Where is the role of a sales agent going to be 3 to 5 years from now? Because that's becoming crucial, because when new filmmakers give away their rights for 10 years, 15 years with emerging markets, and within a calendar year so much more is happening. How does a producer secure whether you may be able to get a better deal or he himself, purely because those giants are sitting in their backyard?
I mean, I know in our case, we're very relentless. We pitch to everyone at every market. So the opportunity that you have with us is that we have these connections built on, long-lasting relationships with these distributors and programmers. And oftentimes, it's never like your film goes into it like an old catalog and we're not pitching it. We're pitching it at every market and tailoring the pitch to each person that we meet with. So the advantage is that we've, had this long-standing relationship, as well as we're able to pitch it each time, and it might be something different than what they've heard before, and it might be the same film. So there's an opportunity for us to still keep your film fresh and at the forefront of their mind.
And the digital market is very interesting. It is changing the sales game. We actually premiered 2 films in Toronto 2 years ago. They both got worldwide Netflix deals, but we retained the rights for everything else, for theatrical, for DVD. And it's been interesting to see some territories are okay. They say, you know, Netflix isn't very big in our territory right now, so we'll release it theatrically, we'll release it on DVD. We've done a few good sales that way, even with Netflix and still festivals, even when Netflix has premiered the film on their platform, some of these films are still playing the festival world and getting more attention.
And Netflix or Amazon or others may also not be interested in your film. So then where is it going to go? If the online giants don't want it, then maybe that's good to have a sales agent to bring it to festivals and try to also sell it to the big screen, because I think films are made for the big screen.
So what we're saying is that Netflix and Amazon would get it out digitally, but what you would do is handle everything and also digitally. I think Sanjay's question was more...
So your usual contracts do guarantee theatrical?
Sorry?
We
guarantee you a theatrical release, or?
We cannot guarantee it.
No, yeah.
Can you guarantee us a very big film?
I can guarantee your release. Thank you. Hello.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to know, like, even though you say that you would like to take up a good film and sell it out and all, generally you also notice some trends or the kind of films which are widely, people are interested in a certain country or, geography. So is there anything like that? Or like it's just you go with the, like any kind of specific tags or kind of films that you look from India, or is it like general films?
I think you mean probably genre-wise. So say something like a Lunchbox did really well internationally. Would you be looking for something similar in that zone or with particular, like you would be attracted to a certain genre? I think actually that brings me to the sign-off, which is in terms of to just sign off with what each of you would like all of you have your inboxes inundated, but it's not necessarily the right matches. So if we could talk about, I think this sort of addresses your question, that what is the thing that each one of you would be interested in when someone's writing in, so that they match make correctly, they're reaching out to the right one of you, because like Ramanand also said, there are a whole bunch of them out there. How do we know which is the right one to go to? So at least the ones that are here on the panel, if we could just talk about what it is, what would be your filter, that if you are...
What kind of film we're looking for?
What kind of film, yeah.
In our case, again, we have a very eclectic slate, so there's nothing specific genre-wise that we're looking for, because we represent all kinds, whether it's romantic comedy, horror, drama. What's helpful in an email sense is really, again, it's be sending the link and then letting us know if worldwide, rights are available, because it'll help us quickly make a decision. Oh, okay, then it's available and we can now represent it.
Yeah, I mean, personally, my taste always gears towards a film that has a strong personal style from the director, from the writing. That's what kind of excites me about it, and that's what's going to make it stand out in the international marketplace, if this is a filmmaker who clearly has their own voice. So those filmmakers can choose whatever genre they want, so it's never a particular genre. Yeah, in terms of email, I would gear towards being as brief but interestingly descriptive as you can. I've gotten some emails, and I'm sorry if any of you ever known them, that are good. You keep scrolling and you never find the end of the pitch. But if you can give some detail as to like the kind of films the filmmaker makes and what makes them special, and if there's any cast we might know about, that's probably going to push it to the top of the pile, because it suggests that the filmmaker has some strong connections and some talent.
No, I do agree. For us, Indian cinema is quite a mystery, because there is more than 1,500 per year, and we see a maximum of 50 per year. So there is many movies who don't have access to festival, to sales agent. So that's very interesting to discover, to see new director and new films. And once again, there is no for a client, for a distributor in Italy or in China, there is no French or Indian cinema. I'm speaking more Ato cinema. It's just an interesting movie, interesting directors, interesting story. And when you ask about pre-sales on the movie, I mean, there is we get take an example, a few years ago, if you see Lunchbox, nobody has pre-bought the movie, on script or on rough cuts. They start by the movie when they saw the movie in Cannes, and on the opposite, the new film of the director is already pre-sold everywhere in the world while nobody saw it. But for one example like that, there is once again, it's hundreds of movies which are probably some of them are very good, and we go for that, but we don't know them really. And me personally, and back to the question, there is no film that we receive by links that we don't see. We see every single film that we receive by email or by DVD. And I think there is a good film or a film which is interesting for us is not only the criterion is not only festival. There is very good commercial movie which are not sized for festival. For me, Lagan is not a festival movie. It's a masterpiece. So the difference is not so big. And once again, what we all looking for, I think it's a film which are amazing us, which is my last one.
And quickly, so just quickly, for us, the film and the filmmaker have to be from Asia. So if you do a co-production between two Asian countries, this is fine. If you go with other countries and have the director come from Europe or the US, it would not work for us. And secondly, the personal touch, as you said, is very important, as well as a beautiful story.
Thank you, and now you have faces to the names, so meet them.